Ready to hack your personal growth? You may not like the answer of how to do this, but I promise you, this is the fastest way for you to grow both personally and professionally. You ready for it? Buckle up. Ask for feedback. Oh man, it's the worst. Asking for feedback sucks, honestly, because you never know what they're gonna say. It's like, even when I ask for feedback now, I have this like pit in my stomach and I'm like, oh, I hope it's good. Oh, I hope it's good. Oh, no, it's not good. Great, right? But there's a part of this that feedback is the number one thing that will challenge you, change you, and grow you. One of my favorite quotes of all time is this saying that if it doesn't challenge you, it likely won't change you. And I'll tell you what, feedback challenges you. And you know that it challenges you because you want to challenge the feedback, right? Many of us, we hear a piece of feedback and we immediately go into defense mode. We're like, well, let me put some context around that. And instead of listening, instead of actually going, man, like, what can I gain from this? You know, what can I take from this to grow and improve? We want to justify. We get defensive and we try to explain and justify instead of going, what's the ounce of truth in here that I really need to take to heart and move forward on? Now, here's the thing about all of this is that most people don't get feedback because they don't ask for feedback. So if you want to hack your personal growth and your professional growth, if you want to expedite your growth, I would encourage you to start asking for feedback in the areas of your life that you actually want to see monumental growth in. So if it's at work, ask a leader, ask a colleague, ask even someone that reports to you, right? It doesn't matter who it is, but ask for feedback. And I tell you, don't forget this one. Ask for your customers' feedback, right? How am I as a salesperson, right? How am I as a coach? How am I as a speaker, right? And there's lots of different ways to do it. And here's what I would encourage. Some people will give you honest feedback one-to-one. Many won't. So many are like, no, you were great. But then they turn around and tell everyone else, that was the worst. Like, that was the worst thing I've ever experienced. They're not going to tell you that because they're conflict adverse. But I'll tell you where they will put it, and in an anonymous survey. So just make sure when you're asking for feedback that you look for a variety of ways to get the most honest and the most compelling sets of feedback that you can. So it depends on the environments, right? So in different companies, they have 360 leadership reviews. You can set up your own, private survey through SurveyMonkey if you wanted. But one of the easiest things to do is just to send out an email and go, hey, I am asking for unsolicited feedback on how I'm doing in blank. I know it's an area I want to grow in. I need to grow in. I would love your thoughts and feedback. Most people aren't going to give it to you unless you invite them into it. And my typical response is, well, how honest do you want me to be? On a scale of 1 to 10. Tell me what your range is. And it's so funny when people say, a 10, I want you to give me a 10. And I have to, go back and go, are you sure that you want a 10 level of honesty on how you're doing? And they're like, yeah. And I always double down on that because if I'm going to take the time, because here's what's important. When you ask for it, it also takes courage on behalf of the other person to give it. And so what I don't want is to give you honest feedback and then you defend yourself and contextualize everything. It's like, that's a waste of my time, right? So I always double down and just go, are you sure? Are you sure? And once you really invite me in, then we can have an honest conversation. But you have to come with a heart of humility. And that's how you learn, is you have a heart of humility when you are asking for feedback. Because most people ask for feedback because they're really looking for accolades, right? What they really want is to hear, you're doing an amazing job. Don't change anything. That's what we want to hear. But the truth is that doesn't change us. That doesn't grow us. That doesn't challenge us. And you may be awesome. But even within your awesomeness, there are things that can be better, right? And so it's acknowledging the parts that are going really well, while also pairing that with the parts that need improvement. Because that's the truth for all of us. We all do something well, and we can all do something better. So you've got to pair those two. And you, as the person asking for the feedback, have to recognize, like, this is an area that I feel like I'm doing pretty well in. And this is an area I recognize I need to grow in. I struggle with it, right? Maybe it's your communication. Maybe it's your written communication specifically. Maybe it's your, gratitude, you don't have a heart of gratitude, or maybe you realize, man, I'm struggling in my leadership, right? People aren't listening to me, or I can't seem to hit a deadline, or I'm not making any sales. Like, why not? Whatever it is, you've got to be super specific. Hey, in this thing, I would really love your feedback. And the easiest thing to do is just ask. Schedule a call, have a coffee, send an email, and ask for feedback with a heart of genuine interest. And here's the second piece of this. Do not get defensive. Do not respond with, oh, but. Just go, hey, thank you for that. The end. That's your job, is to say thank you for that. Now, you don't have to listen to all the feedback. You don't have to agree with all the feedback, but you do need to receive all the feedback and then distill what's for you and what's not. That's your choice. But I promise you, if you have an interest in growth, then you have to have an interest in feedback. And not just an interest, but you have to have a desire to act on what you actually find, even if it's not what you want to hear. And in fact, the things that you don't want to hear are often the things that are going to help you grow to the next level faster than you ever thought possible. So if you want to grow this year, I would encourage you to create a mindset of feedback and start today. Type up that email, send it to one person, and say, hey, I know I want to grow in this area. What feedback do you have for me? What advice do you have for me to help me grow? And that will change your life.